What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you an expanded deck centered around Honor Stoice, including the new Palkia-GX from Ultra PRISM. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. Helps us out a ton and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, this is not going to be even remotely Pokemon related. But the Winter Olympics are in full swing, and the Olympics are something that people from literally all over the world can experience at the same time, and so it's like relevant to all of us at this point. So my question of the day is, what is your favorite Winter Olympics event? Now, I'm not gonna lie, I literally just found out today that the Winter Olympics included indoor track. Like, I legitimately had zero idea that was part of the Winter Olympics. And I mean, to be fair, I should have known that because I kind of ran track in college, but I mean, like, I literally had no idea until I saw a high jump on TV, and I was like, wait, what? This is part of the Olympics? So, yeah, obviously track clearly isn't my favorite Winter Olympic event, but if I had to pick, I would say that I'm just going to go kind of, I think it's Big Air is what it's called, Snowboard Big Air, where they just do the big tricks. I mean, that might be X Games as well. Okay, so I guess if Big Air is just part of X Games and not part of the Olympics, I'll have to say that the half pipe would be my favorite Olympic event in the Winter Olympics. So yeah, let me know what your guys' favorite Winter Olympics events are in the comment section down below, and why. I would love to hear what your guys' thoughts and favorite events are. But anyway, on to the deck. Like I said, it is centered around the combination of Archie's Blastoise, nicknamed Honor Stoice by Jacob von Wagner, who won 2015 Worlds, I believe, with an Honor Stoice idea, well, with the original Honor Stoice list. And so since then, I've just been kind of tweaking things to adjust for updated sets and whatnot. And today I'm trying it with the new Palkia-GX, 180 HP, so 10 HP bulkier than Keldeo, with Hydro Pressure instead of Secret Sword, 60 base, so automatically 10 HP, or 10 attack damage more than Keldeo as well. This attack does 20 more damage times the amount of water energy attached to this Pokemon. So Palkia is literally just a bulkier, stronger Keldeo, except for the fact that Keldeo has the Rush In and Retreat ability, which is absolutely invaluable for this type of deck. So that's why Keldeo is still in the list, because Keldeo is just way too good and versatile of a mon to not have in this type of list. However, Palkia is 10 HP bulkier and 10 attack stronger, which can come into play actually a pretty significant amount. It just needs one less energy in a lot of instances to take KOs, which you find yourself in that scenario quite a bit. So Palkia as another attacker is a very cool addition. Then it also has the Zero Vanish GX attack. For a whopping 5 energy, it does 150 damage, and you shuffle all energy attached to each of your opponent's Pokemon into their deck. So that is absurdly strong. Like, just being able to be like, okay, you have a bunch of energy on board, it's all back into the deck. Now, admittedly, this isn't as good against other decks like, well, against decks like Night March, Mega Rayquaza, to name a few, where they just rely on having like only 1 or 2 energy in play at a time. But against decks like Turbo Darkrai, this can be absolutely devastating, because Turbo Darkrai even likes having energy in the discard pile. So discarding all the energy could actually be somewhat beneficial to a deck like Turbo Darkrai. Putting it all back into the deck is an absurdly powerful ability, like an effect of an attack. And also with a Choice Band, this can hit for 180 and take a knockout on a GX. Like, it's such a very, very, very devastating attack against certain decks that I'm very excited to use it. Now, as for the rest of the Pokemon, like I said, this whole list is centered around the idea of getting out Blastoise EX on turn 1 with Archie's Ace in the hole, and now this is starting to become a little bit older of a card, so some of you who are relatively new to the game might not know what it does. You can only play this card when it is the last card in your hand. Put a water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench, then draw 5 cards. So the whole premise of this deck is to get Blastoise into the discard pile immediately, and then try to play your hand down to where Archie's Ace in the Hole or via Seeker or Tapu Lele is your last card, so that you can get Blastoise directly from the discard pile to your bench, just skipping the whole Squirtle line, having to wait to evolve, all that stuff. And in turn 1, having a Blastoise out to Deluge and get a ton of energy into play onto Palkia or Keldeo, whichever your attacker of choice may be. So that's the whole premise of the deck, and that's literally it. Like, it has one mode, just pedal to the metal. You have to try to get a Blastoise out as quickly as possible and get as much energy on your attackers and just steamroll your opponent. That is the whole goal of this deck. Then as for the numbers of Pokemon, you have 2 of the Shaymin-EXs for setup ability. Shaymin, well, first of all, it's rotated out of Standard. But when Tapu Lele came into Standard when Shaymin was still legal, Tapu Lele basically replaced Shaymin because it gets you a supporter. It is 60 HP bulkier, which is incredibly significant, and it has a good attack in its own right. Shaymin just got completely outclassed by Lele in almost every situation, and also the metagame slowed down a lot, so that hurt Shaymin quite a bit as well. But Shaymin is absolutely necessary in this deck. If you need just a few more cards to try to pull off that Archie's Ace in the Hole, yes, I know that seems counterintuitive, but sometimes if you have a dead hand, playing a Shaymin can draw you into like an Ultra Ball and a Computer Search or something where you're able to play your hand down even more by drawing cards. You're drawing cards to discard cards, which is the purpose of Shaymin. Then also, once you play Archie's, you only get 5 cards, which isn't that good, but if you draw into a Shaymin, it like gives you more cards, which, I mean, again, is what Shaymin does, which increases your chances of drawing into a bunch of water energy to hit for absurd numbers turn 1. As for the attackers, have 2/2 of Palkia and Keldeo. Keldeo's Rush-In ability is so good that it's still worth having an even number of attackers with Palkia, just to be able to rush in and retreat to get out of things like sleep, paralysis, maybe your opponent saying that, or your opponent's attack keeping you from being able to attack with your defending Pokemon. Just a whole plethora of different things that rush in and retreat will help out with. So that's why there is 2 Keldeo along with 2 Palkia. 2 Propagation Execute to help with the discard cost of Computer Search and Ultra Ball if you're in a situation where you have a card that you might not necessarily want to play, but you only have a few cards left. Execute can help out with that. 2 Lele for the Wonder Tag and also Energy Drive. It is yet another thing that Blastoise can deluge onto. And then 2 of the Blastoise. We're running 2, even though you're only really going to ever truly get out 1. Like, that's what you go for, 1 a game. I mean, sometimes I've gotten out 2, but usually it is just 1. But we do have 2 of those so that if one of your Blastoise is prized, you're not just immediately out of the game. Yes, there are situations where both Blastoise are prized, but that is significantly less likely to happen when you have 2 as opposed to 1. Now, the rest of the cards in the deck, all these items are just dedicated to getting that Blastoise going through your deck and getting yourself in a situation where you can get an Archie's Ace in the Hole turn 1. 4 Acro Bike and 4 Trainers Mail to go through your deck as quickly as possible. 4 Battle Compressor, absolute max number to get the stuff that you want in the discard pile there, such as Blastoise and Execute, and then make it more likely that you draw into cards that you can use. Like the Computer Search, for example, this deck is completely reliant on having the right puzzle pieces in order to be able to pull off a turn 1 Archie's, and so having Computer Search just be able to get whatever you need. Like, if you have a Computer Search in your hand turn 1, odds are you're going to be able to pull off a turn 1 Archie's. That's how huge Computer Search is for this deck. 4 Superior Energy Retrievals to not only discard cards, but also get a ton of energy into your hand that Blastoise can just deluge onto your attacker. 4 Ultra Ball to guaranteed get the Pokemon that we want when we want it, as well as discarding cards. 4 VS Seeker to reuse the supporters. And then as for these supporters, we have 2/1 of Juniper and N. That is a very, very, very low number for this type of, for just a deck in general, and that is because, first of all, we have so many cards that we're going to be milling through our deck very, very quickly and have other ways of getting supporters, but also we want to rely on Archie's Ace in the Hole, and because Archie's is a supporter, we will not be able to use another supporter in the turn that we use Archie's and vice versa. So we want to limit the number of supporters that we have, because supporters in your hand, if you're trying to pull off an Archie, are just a dead card. Like if you have a Juniper in your hand and you're trying to pull off an Archie's Ace in the Hole, Juniper is just a dead card that needs to be discarded. So that's why we're running relatively low numbers of the usual draw support, and then 2 Archie's Ace in the Hole to be able to pull that off as in the first turn as well. And then of course we are running a copy of Guzma, just because Guzma's effect is so powerful and meta defining that you need to have that 2 Rough Seas to be able to heal up our attackers. Admittedly, I'm not as big of a fan of it anymore now that we have Palkia in the deck and we're not always using water attackers. However, it's still just another card that you're able to play and get rid of out of your hand in order to pull in Archies off. So I'm okay with it, and also it gives Keldeo a little bit more longevity. 2/2 of Float Stone and Fighting Fury Belt to give our attackers some more longevity, let them take hits better. 2 Float Stones to give free retreat to Blastoise, who would be a pain otherwise, and then also to Keldeo for the Russian and retreat like I mentioned before, and then 11 water energy to be able to just get a ton of them and attach them to the attackers. So yeah, that's the deck. I talked way too long. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against a Microcosmo with a Dark, Psychic, and Normal deck, so it'll be interesting to see what my opponent is using, although it's probably some Zoroark variant, I would guess. But I don't know. We'll see what it's up against. I mean, it could also be Turbo Dark. I guess that's another option. But we do get to go first, which we will definitely take. And we start off with... Okay, so this is... We can definitely work with this. Yeah, because I can Battle Compressor the Exeggcute and the Blastoise into the discard pile immediately, which I can deal with. And also, if I have 2 Archies, I can throw 1 into the discard pile so that I'm able to grab that later with either the Lele or the VS Seeker. I mean, worst case scenario, I just Shaymin for 0 and then Lele for a... And then Lele for an Archie's. Like, I have a guaranteed Archie. Well, depending on what I draw, again. I have a guaranteed, almost guaranteed Archie's this turn, depending on what I get. I am going to go ahead and take that, see what I get. It's a Juniper, crap. So I shouldn't have taken that, and I get a Float Stone. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. So I'm going to use my first Battle Compressor. I'm not going to bother looking through my deck too much. Just go ahead and get the Blastoise and the Exeggcute in there. There we go. Okay, so there are 2 Archies. I'm going to throw a Water Energy as well, just to activate Superior Energy Retrieval in case I end up needing that. In case I end up needing that to discard stuff. And okay, this works. So let's go ahead and Acro Bike, see what I... Ah, crap. So I Acro Bike, throw another water in the discard pile. Please, Ultra Ball. Up, there we go. Alright, so I am good now. I have all that I need to be able to pull off a turn 1 Archie. So let's go ahead and Trainers Mail, see if there's anything that I want to use. Not really. Especially because I do have the Lele in my hand. I can just go ahead and play that down for the Archie's Ace in the Hole. So now that I have the Computer Search, I think... Well, let's go ahead and get rid of the Water Energy and the Juniper to grab probably... Let's just grab a Battle Compressor, because I mean, that's all I need, because I can just Lele for the Archies. I wanted to make sure that it was there and that I didn't just miss-see it. So let's go ahead and Battle Compressor, get rid of a Guzma and Water Energy, and then probably... What else do I want to get rid of? My other Battle Compressor? No. Let's get rid of an N. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I want to make sure that Archie stays in the deck so that Lele can grab it. Let's go ahead and Lele for that Archie's. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a turn 1 Blastoise, because as soon as I play this Water Energy onto the Palkia, I can Archie's Ace in the Hole for the Blastoise, get that thing out, and now I have a ton of energy in the discard pile if I get a Superior Energy Retrieval, which is phenomenal, and is something that I do get off of the Trainer's Mail. So this is phenomenal. Now what I can do is go ahead and propagate with Exeggcute, with both my Exeggcutes, so that I'm basically getting a Superior Energy Retrieval for absolutely nothing. Play that down, get rid of both of the Exeggcutes to get 4 energy back into my hand. Yes, I will take that 100%. And then, actually, this is where the extra 10 damage from Palkia comes into play, because now I can one-shot 180 HP EXs with 6 energies. Like normally Keldeo one-shots 170 with 6 energies, but Palkia one-shots 180 HP EXs with that. So that is really nice. I am just going to retreat into my Lele in case my opponent plays Laser Bank so that I don't have Palkia damaged any more than it needs to. Or if my opponent's able to attack, then I can just work around that. And also Tapu Lele only has 1 retreat cost. Basically, it's the best thing to go into because if my opponent Hex Maniacs, I can just go ahead and attach an energy in order to get that thing out of the active spot to retreat. I have the VS Seekers to be able to Guzma up a Darkrai that my opponent has on the bench to knock that thing out. Tapu Lele is relatively bulky, 170 HP, so it's going to be very difficult for my opponent to get that one shot immediately. And this is just, I mean, honestly, I'm just in a great position right now. Yeah, my opponent has gotten 2 energy on Darkrai immediately, but as soon as he gets that thing set up, I can just Palkia and knock it out immediately, and he has to get a ton of energy on there to be able to one-shot my Lele. And even though I love Turbo Dark, it is my favorite deck, it's relatively difficult to one-shot 170, 180 HP Pokemon turn 1. Is it possible? 100%. And have I done it before? Oh, you bet I have. But is it something that is particularly common? Not as much. I'd say maybe probably about 20% of the time I'm able to pull that off with Choice Band and Laser Bank. I'm able to pull that off. But otherwise, I'm in a very, very good spot. My opponent plays Skyfield, and everybody's playing Skyfield now. That's why I saved my Rough Seas so that I'd be able to counter that. Although I don't necessarily know if I want to counter Skyfield. Well, I want to counter Skyfield yet, that is to say. Because what I can do is I can take advantage of that, play down Keldeos and Palkias, and then use Rough Seas to get rid of my Shaymin, which would be an easy pickings for my opponent to deal with. So that might be what I go for. And there's a Malamar, so very glad I have that Russian and retreat from Keldeo so that he can't just put me to sleep and try to stall. This is a very, very good setup for me. And even though my opponent is getting a very good turn 1 for him, just the fact that I have the setup that I do is really, really nice for me. And he's going to Shaymin after getting a Colress, so my opponent's going off turn 1 as well. So this will be a good game because both of us are getting set up well. But I think that Palkia just being able to consistently one-shot Darkrai is going to overwhelm him. Like, if he's not able to get up to certain numbers, then if he's not able to get up to certain numbers, then Palkia is going to be able to take multiple KOs, and I do have superior energy retrievals and another Palkia to be able to come in later. So all I need is just Palkia to take 2 KOs, and then I'll be good. So he does attach the energy to the Darkrai. Does he have... He doesn't have Verbank, which makes me think he's not running Hypnotoxic Laser. He does have the Restoration Darkrai, which he actually forgot to put Dark Energy in the discard pile, so that's unfortunate. But luckily for me, is he going to put one in there now? Let's see. Let's see what he grabs with the Ultra Ball. Might grab another Shaymin just to get more draw support. My opponent's going through a ton of cards. Gets rid of another Skyfield. Okay, so he has 2 more Darkrai in there, but no Darkness Energy. So that is great for me, meaning that Dark Pulse isn't going to be doing nearly as much. But he can go into his own Darkrai, Dark Pulse, hit my Lele for 80 damage, and that's okay with me, because what I'm going to immediately be able to do is... Actually, don't want to do this. Excuse me. Actually, what I think I'm going to do, because his Darkrai is nowhere near ready to Oko me, yeah, it's not anywhere near ready to Oko a Palkia, I'm just going to take away his free retreat by getting, well, free retreat and an energy by going into my Palkia. And yeah, let's just go ahead and Skyfield. I mean, it gets rid of his Hoopas and his Shaymins, but overall it's not like, it's not too huge of a deal. Just keeps him from having an extra spot on his bench for another Shaymin or whatever he wants to go into to potentially draw him cards. So I'm just going to go ahead and counter his Stadium. Palkia is going to be able to get a one-hit knockout on his Darkrai. He's only going to have 2 energy in play now with his Dark Pulse Darkrai, and he also will not have free retreat. So I'm going to play this energy onto my Keldeo, and then let's just go ahead and Hydro Pressure, knock out my opponent's Darkrai, his Dark Cloak Darkrai, and take prizes. And there we go. I do get the superior energy retrieval. So even if Palkia goes down, I will have access to my energy once again. I mean, I won't be able to immediately OHKO a Darkrai with the Keldeo, but at least with superior energy retrieval, I should put myself in a pretty decent position. So he is going to go ahead and restore, get that energy back onto the field. But what this does is it keeps him from being able to take advantage of that, of like an extra, like if he was able to get more darkness energies into the discard pile later. And he does attach to the Malamar. It's going to put me to sleep, but I do have Rush In and Retreat with my Keldeo, so I'm not overly worried. And he's going to end me down to 4. I would hope that I have enough cards in my deck to where I'm able to draw something that I can work with. And this definitely counts as something I can work with. Have the Fighting Fury Belt, have an Acro Bike to be able to look at the top 2 cards and pick whichever one I want. So basically, I'm just in a great spot right now. Darkrai is not going to be able to OHKO me. He has to have a Choice Band and another energy attachment in order to be able to OHKO me, but unfortunately for him, he does not, so he does just have to hit me, and I do wake up, so that's honestly even better. And what I can do right now is actually a really cheeky play that I think... Do I want to do it? Because what I can do is, first of all, let's go ahead and Fighting Fury Belt up both of these. Let's go ahead and rush in with Keldeo. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my Guzma. And then I'm going to knock out his Shaymin with my Palkia's GX attack. That gets all of his energy on the board back into the deck. And, I mean, basically, like, his Darkrai was close to being able to knock out my Palkia with just one more energy attachment. Now, all the energy that he had on the field is back in the deck. My Palkia is sitting there with 6 energy, ready to OHKO whatever my opponent decides to send out. And now I'm just in a perfect spot. Like, I'm pretty sure I win this game, because he can't even stall with Malamar because I have Rush In and Retreat with Keldeo. Like, there's quite a bit of stuff he has to be able to pull off to not lose. And also, he's already used his max elixirs, so he can't get those back in order to be able to try to accelerate more energy. Like, honestly, I just feel like I'm in such a good spot right now. I don't think there's a whole lot my opponent can do. And yeah, he even has to get... I forgot he doesn't have his free retreat on board anyway. But he does get that back with the Dark Cloak Darkrai, attaches in energy, and now, I mean, he has to just pray, basically. Like, I'm just in such a good position that I don't think there's a whole lot my opponent can do. Yeah, he can end me, but that won't do a whole lot. Or he can Sycamore, I guess. Well, he's also gotten rid of 2 Skyfields as well, so he only has a certain number of those left. Which means that he can't expand his bench all that much. So I think actually getting rid of that Darkrai for my first knockout actually is going to end up paying dividends, because it forced him to get that thing back out in order to have free retreat. But yeah, we do see the max elixir, but that's... He only has 1 left in his entire deck. That is not going to be enough. Yeah, he's more likely to hit it now because I put all the energy back into his deck. But that's just not going to be enough for him to win the game. Well, win the game, much less... I mean, he will barely have enough to knock out my Palkia if he hits everything. And yeah, now he's out of max elixirs. So if he has Dark Patches, he can definitely get the knockout if he gets 2 more in play. But he just goes into his Darkrai. Does he have double Dark Patch in his hand? No, he doesn't. He's just going to hit my Palkia for 80 damage. And we are going to be able to win the game with Hydro Pressure. So... man, you guys got to see pretty much everything that game. You got to see a turn 1 Blastoise. You got to see Palkia taking 1-hit knockouts for only 6 energy. You even got to see a, honestly, perfect use of Palkia's GX attack. Like, that attack just came at the most opportune time. Taking OHKO on an EX while getting rid of all the energy and putting it back into the deck for my opponent. Like, against the perfect deck for that, too. So that was honestly just a very... amazing example of how this deck is supposed to work, and an amazing matchup for Palkia to show exactly what it can do and all that it can do. So I'm very excited about that. But that match, I mean, that was a good match, but I think we got time for another one. So let's go ahead and try to find another with this deck. Alrighty, we have got another one against Darmuka 18 with, is this another Turbo Dark deck? I mean, there must be like a daily challenge going on or something, because that's all I've been running into since I've been playing today. But I mean, regardless if it's another Turbo Dark deck, then we definitely take those, because you guys saw what this deck does against Turbo Dark. I mean, it just demoralizes it. It's like, okay, you finally got up enough energy to do significant damage, and it's all back in the deck. So I start off with a bunch of water energy. Wow. This hand would be... Actually, no, this hand would be absolutely atrocious for trying to pull off a turn 1 Archies. So very glad that I'm able to mulligan to try to get something a little bit more workable. And by a little bit more workable, I mean anything in this. This counts. This is definitely more workable. I should be able to pull off a turn 1 Archies with this, I think. I mean, of course, that depends on what I... Actually, you know what? Even with Ultra Ball, like, as long... Like, I have Battle Compressor and Ultra Ball. I should be able to pull off Archies, assuming that my Lele... Assuming that my other Lele isn't prized. And also, you know, that my 2 Archies aren't prized, but that's a very low possibility of happening. And yeah, this is another Turbo Dark deck, so this is... I'm 100% okay with this. Like, this is actually really great for me, because I can definitely deal with it, and I hope my opponent doesn't end me. Because the hand that I have is just perfect for it. Like, it's just perfect for being able to pull off turn 1 Archies. I have the ability to... Huh? My opponent... What? Why did he grab Pokemon Center Lady with... I am so confused right now. I don't know what's going on. My opponent just used Pokemon... Grabbed Pokemon Center Lady. Turn 1 with Lele. I legitimately don't know what is going on right now. But, I mean, I guess if my opponent doesn't... Yeah, alright. So I'm not going to question it, and this is actually great because I don't even have to worry about Lele anymore. So let's go ahead and throw Blastoise and Exeggcute, and, ooh, I only have 1 Archies. So luckily I draw into that VS Seeker. Let's Trainers Mail, see what I can get, see if it's something I can work with. Let's grab the Acro Bike. Might as well. I mean, might as well see what else we can get. Yeah, I do have to take one of the cards, but it could come in handy. Oh man, so I'm punished for taking the Acro Bike right now. That was a bad choice because I'm forced to get rid of a VS Seeker. But what this does allow me to do is Ultra Ball for probably... Let's just grab a Palkia. Go ahead and get that sucker out, get an energy onto it, because that way I'm only 5 energy away of being able to Oko Darkrai. And would you look at that, we are able to pull off the Archie's Ace in the Hole, turn 1 once again, and if I can get my Shaymin out, then maybe I can draw into more cards and... Ooh. Well... Let's see, let's go ahead and throw those 2 in there, and probably Guzma. Yeah, might as well, just throw those in there. Not going to be able to Oko the Darkrai, but being able to do an absolute crap ton to it, which is pretty nice. So let's throw 4 energy onto Palkia, and I don't think Palkia is in a particular amount of danger, so, I mean, yeah, his Lele can hit me for some good damage if he gets another Darkness energy on it next turn, but, I mean, hey, let's put Darkrai in range of just being knocked out by, like, a Fighting Fury belted Sky return from Shaymin. That'd be kind of cool. My opponent does go into Lele and is going to play another Darkness. I mean, that was to be expected. Probably going to use the Pokemon Center Lady that he grabbed first turn, and no, he's going to Kukui. Well, this is bad. It's going to be able to hit me for 140, which is not great, but, I mean, Darkrai's heavily damaged. Lele's probably going to go down this turn. Like, I get a Lele, but I don't need it. Hopefully I can get something I can work with, and that counts. That definitely counts as something I can work with. This is beautiful. Holy crap. So what I'm going to do is 1 energy in the discard pile. I'm going to manually retreat out my Palkia. That way I can put the... I can just Superior Energy Retrieval those back into my hand and put them on this Palkia. Fighting Fury Belt up this guy. Let's Battle Compressor. What do I want to get rid of? Probably just 3 more energy. That way my other Superior Energy Retrievals will be activated as well, and I can actually guaranteed get the Oko on Lele this turn. Actually, all I need is 5 energy, and then with the Exeggcute I can definitely get that. But I think I might actually go a little bit bigger. And this is where Exeggcute plays start to get annoying, because what I can do is I can Exeggcute twice, use my Superior Energy Retrieval, get rid of both of those, grab the 4 energy that I threw into my discard pile. But now I can actually Exeggcute again for Computer Search, but first things first, let's just go ahead and throw a ton of energy onto this Palkia, throw enough to be able to Oko the Lele, which with the Fighting Fury Belt is actually only going to be 5 energy, which is another boon it has over Keldeo. And then let's propagate once again with the Exeggcute. So I'm going to be propagating 6 times this turn, and that's, I mean, yeah, that's Exeggcute is just so phenomenal with these discard 2 cards, because it's basically just like, oh, yeah, you have to discard 2 cards? Yeah, not really. So basically, I just get the extra awesome effect that these cards have to be having to discard 2 cards added onto them to be balanced, because otherwise Ultra Ball and Superior Energy Retrieval would be busted. Execcute's just like, nah, bro, we got you. We got you. You don't have to worry about that at all. And now I'm going to be able to just power up Palkia as much as I want, get 2 more energy onto it, that way I can one-shot whatever my opponent decides to bring in. And yeah, you know what? Let's power up this Palkia on the bench as well, and then let's Acro Bike see what we can get. We get a Trainers Mail, which I can use to potentially get a supporter for next turn. Nope, but I do get a Superior Energy Retrieval. I can work with that as well. So let's just go ahead, knock out my opponent's Tapu Lele, take a couple prizes, and now my opponent has to respond to a 220 HP Palkia that is hitting for 190 damage each turn. Like, my opponent, even if he Pokemon Center Ladies this Darkrai, that's not going to be enough, because I will one-shot this Darkrai even if it's at full. So I think, because my opponent has absolutely nothing else on the board, that might just be GG. Which, yeah, does end up being my opponent does end up forfeiting. So we are able to take the win. And, yeah, you guys saw how powerful Honor Stoice is. And Palkia actually fits in perfectly with Honor Stoice. When I first saw Palkia, I was like, wow, this card is not particularly good. But now seeing it in action with Honor Stoice is just like, wow, yeah, Palkia is very strong in the right deck. So yeah, that is going to be the deck, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.